we talked about traveling in a tube. That is what we are trying to understand. Okay, so what happens is that if you, for now, let us assume, so these are some simplifying assumptions, that the flame is perfectly flat. This is called planar flame. The flame is flat and it is moving at a constant speed. So once you ignite at one end, it will start moving to the left and it will cover the whole tube. And instead of fresh gas, this is fresh gas, you will have burned gas all over the tube. Okay. So this is the theoretical experiment that we start with. Now to make you understand this, I have used the example of a boat. Okay, so a boat moving in still water with velocity v1 will move at in a river at velocity v1 minus v2. This is, I think, simple vector addition you might have done in class 12, 11th or 12th, right?
Yes, sir.
One is very comfortable with that. So if you are comfortable with that, now imagine that the flame is a boat. Flame is moving like a boat. Then you will see what is going on here. Now if you talk about the boat, if the boat moves at a velocity v1 in still water, and let us say v1 is equal to v2. Okay, the river is also coming left with the same velocity at which the boat can move. So what will be the observer standing on the ground? What velocity of boat will he observe? Yes? Anyone?
Sir, the difference of the two.
Yes, but if v1 is equal to v2, then what?
So, it will seem stationary.
Correct. So exactly the same thing I am doing with the flame. Now I have a flame. I know that it can consume X grams of fuel per second. Something like that. X moles of any fuel, whatever the given fuel is. The flame can consume X grams per second of a given fuel. So I supply the same flow rate. Okay. Basically, I'm talking about velocity. So let us say that this is at atmospheric pressure. So I know what mass of fuel is required. I know what is the density of this mixture. So I know what is the speed I need to maintain. If I maintain this speed, then the flame will be stationary. It will not move at all. Okay. Now the question is whether this is possible. Can you think of an example where you see a stationary flame, where the flame is not moving at all?
Sir, in home
Sir,
cooking gas.
Bunsen burner.
Bunsen burner, very good. So Bunsen burner, although it is a curved flame, but what happens here? This flame is stationary here. We are feeding fuel from the tube at some rate which makes it stationary. Okay, forget for a moment that it is curved. Let us say if it is flat, it is stationary, right? The same thing I'm telling in context of a tube, and I'm saying the flame is flat. That's all. Okay. Okay. So now let us look at various regions of the flame. Now we have established that the flame is stationary. Now let us see what are the different regions involved. So first is the preheat zone. Okay, the fresh fuel which is at ambient atmospheric temperature, let us say 300 Kelvin. This fuel has to be brought to some higher temperature, right? We have covered chemical kinetics previously. We know that there is some minimum ignition energy involved. We know there is some energy of activation. So where is that energy of activation coming from? From here. We have a reaction zone which produces energy. So this all the bond gases are at very high temperature, right? Typically for anyone remembers any adiabatic flame temperature? Let us say methane.
Sir, 2200 Kelvin.
Yeah, very good. So roughly of the order of, let us say 2000, 2500 Kelvin. So that sort of temperature is produced here in the reaction zone, and it is, you see the temperature gradients are so high. Here you have very high 2000 Kelvin, let us say. Here you have 300 Kelvin. So if you talk about heat conduction, what will happen? Heat will conduct back or not?
Yes, sir.
So the high temperature will be conducted back, and okay, now let us look at what are the coordinates what are being shown here. So here you see reactants. So reactants are at high concentration on the left side. As you approach the flame, they begin to decrease and they completely finish if it is a complete combustion, right? Now temperature is, let us say, 300 Kelvin. It starts to rise, and we have a very steep rise. This is the flame front. Inside the flame, there is a very large step change from 300 Kelvin to, let us say, 2000 Kelvin, and then it is burned gases, high temperature. And this plot showed you volumetric heat release rate. Okay, so heat is basically released. There's a very large step function. Heat is released where you are burning your fuel. So there at the middle of it, let's say, we have a large release of heat. Heat is generated because of breaking and forming of new bonds. Okay, one question which I have given in the assignment. So chemical bonds are being broken, chemical bonds are being formed. That increases your temperature of the mixture. That is what is happening here because of the reaction. Okay, so this is how schematically we show different processes in a premixed flame. How temperature, reactant, and heat release vary within the flame. This is the plot. Any questions on this?
Sir, can you explain that peak in volumetric heat release?
Okay, so heat release will be in a very small region, okay, where your flame is there, and it will peak at that time. There are small wiggles here and there because of some intermediate reaction, but in general, what you will find is, different books draw differently. Usually, it is shown like this, that there is a very sharp peak. I will show you some results from my calculation also later on. Okay. So just wait for a few more slides. I have many more results. This is just giving you a brief overview. We will go into detail for different flames how this curve exactly looks like. For methane, I think, and hydrogen, I have two examples. Okay. Okay. So now let us establish here is that this SL is constant for a given fuel. Okay, and basically, as you will see, that it is a characteristic of a given fuel. Okay, you can measure laminar flame speed of a fuel, and that will be true for that fuel at that given condition. So, for example, we have methane. Laminar flame speed is 40 centimeters per second. For acetylene, it is 136, and so on and so forth. So basically, how we define this? We say that this is the velocity at which unburned gases move through the combustion wave, normal to the direction of the wave surface. So you see, we are talking about a tube where this is a planar flame, and normal to it I am supplying SL. That is why it is being held stationary. We'll see how we will also make some calculation about the Bunsen burner. You will see how to calculate in a cone, but to keep it simple, let us start with the planar flame. So this is the definition of SL, or laminar flame speed. And this is characteristics of a fuel. This is fixed. Laminar flame speed is fixed. You can have. Okay, now the question is, last class someone was saying that flame could get accelerated, deaccelerated. So any option or any mechanism by which it could get accelerated, anyone can think of? I mentioned it in the last class actually. How it can accelerate?
Sir, by blocking the that output flow zone.
That is a good, but yeah, that is basically leading to detonation, which is not in your syllabus. Maybe we can touch upon that, but there is one simpler way which we will also cover in this chapter. So remember, I am talking. Let laminar will be constant. What if it is not laminar anymore? Did you get my question?
Yes,
What
sir.
if my flame becomes turbulent? Will it follow the same speed, or can it change?
Sir, to be talking about laminar and turbulent Reynolds number of the flame, do we have some measurements of that?
Yes, we will come to that. Right? That we are talking about laminar and turbulent flame. So, okay, let me answer that question. So, what I am saying is laminar flame speed will be constant for a given fuel. But if the flame is, let us say, going along the tube, and by some means it becomes turbulent, then the speed will increase. If I am maintaining very ideal conditions, I am maintaining it laminar, I am saying that it is planar, then it has to move with a constant speed, which is SL. Is this clear to everyone? For ideal conditions, when we talk about some ideal assumptions, then, and especially when we are talking in terms of laminar conditions, when I say that the flame is laminar, then it has to propagate by laminar flame speed. That is what we understand theoretically. Is this okay? That's why it is a characteristics. If you know the laminar speed, you know the which fuel. If I give you any given fuel, let us say I give you hydrogen, and if I say the flame is laminar, then you can be sure that this is the speed it is going by. Is this is a very important topic, that's why I'm emphasizing is again and again. So please tell me if you are clear or not, or should I proceed further?
Yes, sir, it's clear, the terminology.
Okay, very good. So now the next question is, now we have agreed upon the fact that laminar flame speed is constant for a given fuel, and we are saying that if we feed it with SL, then we can maintain it constant. Now the next question is, if my fuel velocity is in the tube is less than or greater than the flame speed, what will happen then? If it is exactly equal to the flame speed, it will be stationary. Flame will be stationary. What if flow velocity is lower than the flame speed or higher than the flame speed? What will happen?
Sir, the flame will move with the same laminar flame speed, but it will move with respect to the incoming fuel gases.
Very good. So we can again take this analogy of the boat. If V1 is equal to V2, boat will be appear stationary. If V2 is greater than V1, then what will happen? Boat will move to the right. Okay? Everyone agrees to that? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
River velocity is higher than the boat
Yes, sir.
velocity, it will take it with it. If the boat velocity is higher, then the boat will move left. Now exactly the same thing will happen in the flame. So if your fuel velocity, fuel mixture, fuel plus air is U. If U is equal to SL, then it is stationary. If U is more than SL, then the flame will move right. Flame will go in this direction. Sorry, flame will go in this direction. Sorry. If U is more than SL, then flame will be moving in this direction. I got little confused. Now, if U is okay, this is wrong. U is less than SL, then the flame will move in this direction. Okay, is this clear? Exactly same process as the boat will follow. That's all will be done with the flame. Okay. Now, the first condition is called a stable or stationary flame. Okay. Now, flame moving right. This is basically blow off. That we'll again talk about in the next chapter, but this is the terminology. You are basically blowing out the flame. Suppose if you have this Bunsen burner, if I increase the velocity of the fuel to very high value, then it will not have a stable flame. Flame will blow out. Or if I decrease it, the flame will flash back. It will move inside the tube. Okay, let me draw that tube for you. So let us say a Bunsen burner. If the fuel velocity is very high, what will happen is your flame will blow out. It will not be able to sustain. It will not be able to hold air. It will extinguish. I will show you a photo after this. If the flame speed is very low, if the flow velocity is lower than the flame speed, then it will what will see. Let me draw a fresh map. Okay. Make a new slide. I will show you. So let us say what I am saying. You people are able to follow or not? Or
Sir, able to follow.
okay, I will just make an example for this. So let us say I have Bunsen burner, and let us say the flame is stable here. Okay, we have a stable flame setting. So I have velocity which is equal to SL in some sense. We'll see how how to scale it for that. But if the velocity will be very high, the flame will go out. It will move out and it will be extinguished. And if the velocity is very low, fuel velocity, lower than the SL, then what happened? The flame was sitting here. Now it will try to come down. Okay, this is called flashback. It is going inside upstream. Okay, so these definitions are very important. Please take a note. Now let us look at this example. So if flashback happens, then fuel is pushing the flame out. It is blowing out, and this is blow off, and this is blow off, and this is flashback. Okay, what we have discussed in the last slide about this Bunsen burner. Same thing will happen in a tube. Okay. Now, let me define. These are very important terms, especially Kundan. You will be directly dealing with this. So, any question, please ask me immediately. Okay?
Okay, sir.
Kundan, here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, flashback occurs when the flame enters through the tube. It goes back. This is called flashback without extinguishing. That we'll see later. Liftoff is when it is going above the tube and then it blows out like this. So, for example, if the air velocity is very high, this flame was supposed to be inside this engine. Okay, because of certain conditions, it is forced out. This is called blow off. Okay, this is a very famous picture of blow off in a jet engine. Now, if you look at effect of flashback, so basically the fuel is burning where it is not supposed to burn. It will burn the rim of that burner. So this is what is happening here. So there are these are the images from a gas turbine engine. Now there are many factors involved. Okay, there is also something called thermoacoustic oscillations that will not discuss in about that. But flashback is also largely responsible for burning this. You see, this is before and after images. Because of flashback, everything is burnt here. This whole plate is gone. Can you see that? This plate with the dotted holes, as you can see, this is not there in this picture. Is it clear what I'm talking about? Yes, no?
Yes,
What?
sir.
So please keep on talking. Otherwise, I don't know you people are connected or not. Or looking at this or sleeping, I don't know. Okay. So let us now talk a little bit more about the flame structure. So this is what we have discussed. Okay, I have shown this diagram in context of a tube. Okay, now the same thing will apply in a flame, in a Bunsen, any flame basically. Let us now take Bunsen burner. So if I take the tip of this Bunsen burner, this is also approximately like a tube. It is little curved, but it is like flow is going perpendicular to this flame front, right? Do you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So if I take across the flame front, we'll see the same variation of reactant temperature and heat release. What we have looked into this case. Same sort of variation will be there because this is also flame. Okay. Now I can also highlight different regions in a different way. So I can say reactants are there which are decreasing. Temperature is again smaller initially, then it increases suddenly, and heat release is shown in a different way. Now this you can see, this is the visible region. The shaded region here is what you see in this image. This is the visible or luminous region where you see light is getting emitted, and inside this also you see some intermediate. So again you have preheat zone, reaction zone, and also you'll see some recombination. That is another part where we say after the bonding there will be some post reactions also. But this is our main reaction zone which we are concerned about, where the heat energy is getting produced. Okay. Now let us look at this flame again. So how do we relate it with flame velocity? Okay. Let us just focus on this flame front. This is little round, but let us say it is approximated as a triangle. Okay. So some fuel velocity is there, which is fuel plus air basically, because we are talking about premixed flame. So let us say that fresh mixture is coming at velocity u. Right? Now this fuel is crossing this flame front. Okay. So which component of velocity should I take into consideration? Which is parallel to the flame front or perpendicular to the flame front? Yes, anyone?
Perpendicular.
Correct. So can I break this u, if I know this theta, can I break this u in terms of some cos theta, sin theta, something like that?
Yes, sir.
So can I write that this component is u sin theta? Okay, if I do that, then I can say that SL is u sin theta. Is this clear?
Yes, sir. Clear.
Okay. So now let us say I have a Bunsen burner. So within some range of theta, it could stabilize the flame. If I say, let us say I have lower flow rate and I increase the flow rate. So within some range, the theta will try to adjust and keep the flame stable. Theta will adjust, then value of sin theta will change. Okay, if suppose I have a lower velocity, it may look like this. So theta will be different, sin theta will be different. Somehow it will adjust so that SL is equal to u sin theta. Okay, I think we have some examples also, so you will look at how to make calculations for this type of flame. Okay, so that's what I just mentioned, that theta is not constant. Constant is SL. Okay, so if you change u within some small range, then theta will adjust accordingly, and this basically flame will be held stable. Okay, this is fine up to here.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yes,
I have
sir.
a doubt.
Yes, please.
Sir, when you asked which component of U we will take into consideration,
Yes.
so what were we considering? Like was it continuity or?
No, we are saying that this fuel is basically, if you remember how we defined SL, we say that there is a tube, we have a flame, the flow component perpendicular to the flame, if it is able to hold the flame stationary, that is SL, right?
Okay, sir. I understood what you are saying. It will be perpendicular component will be SL. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Because the
that's what
flame is
I'm.
stationary. Yes,
Yes,
sir.
exactly. Fine. So let us now look at some what do you say, governing equations. Okay. So again, I will take the example of a tube. One side we have unburned gases, other side we have burned gases, and flame is stabilized here. So continuity will be valid. So let us say we denote the properties of left side by 1 and burned gases by 2. So rho1 u1 is equal to rho2 u2. Continuity equation will always hold good. Then we'll have momentum equation. So if there is a pressure difference, that will be accounted by this momentum equation. Okay. Now energy will also be held constant. So Cp, basically what we are saying is U will be the internal energy. We are saying that total energy is maintained constant. Okay. Initial energy of reactant plus the chemical energy of the reactant will be equal to final thermal energy plus chemical energy of product. That's what is written here in an equation form. And equation of state will also hold good. We'll say that P is equal to rho RT. So what we can do is, for our analysis, for calculations, we can assume the flame to be, we can consider it to be a wave. Okay. So all these properties are conserved across the wave. That is how we can visualize, and that is how we can make some calculations using a flame front, assuming it as a wave. Okay. Now let us look at some theories on flame speed. How do we find flame speed, or what are the parameters or variables involved, right? So we have looked at this, if you remember. So again, take the same, this is the simplest configuration we could think of, that there is a long tube and there is a very ideal straight flat flame inside, which is laminar in nature. Okay. Sorry for this overrating, but this is a flat flame, that's all. Now we know what are the regions involved. There is a preheat region, there is a reaction zone and all that. Now, what Maillard and Le Chatelier, they were two scientists or researchers working on this flame. So what they proposed is what we have actually talked about a little bit. So they said that, okay, this is the region where heat is generated. This is the region of basically where you have all your reactions. So this will be a high temperature region, as you can see here. So this region will supply heat to the incoming fresh gases by conduction, right? There is a large gradient of temperature, so heat will obviously conduct it back. Is it okay? You people are with me or not?
Yes, sir.
Can you please repeat, sir, once?
So what I am saying is that if you look at this orange color region, so this is called zone 2. This is the region where your flame is burning, or reactions are, all the heat generating reactions are taking place. So this is a region of heat generation. You understood what I'm talking about? This is a very thin region where heat is generated.
Sir, is this the reason in which that peak occurred?
Yes, correct. This peak you're talking about, right? Yeah, that is the reason. That's exactly. Let me go back to that slide. Yes, this is the region.
Yes, sir, this one, yeah.
Where the
Volumetric
peak is
peak.
there. Okay, so we have high heat. Heat is generated here. Burning is happening here. Heat is generated here. Now, that heat will be conducted back. The fresh gases which are coming, that also need to heat up, right? They have to go from 300 Kelvin to some ignition temperature Ti. After that, it will burn. So that heat is supplied by these burn gases which are burning. Okay. So what Maillard and Le Chatelier said that there is heat required to raise unburned gases, unburned fuel temperature from T0 to Ti. It is initially at T0, room temperature, let us say 300 Kelvin. Now they will define some ignition temperature Ti. Let us say at that temperature it will start to burn spontaneously. It will burn. Okay, when you provide some temperature, then only you have, if you remember kinetics, we talked about activation energy, right? You need to give some initial heat or energy for the fuel to burn. Do you remember that?
Yes, sir.
So in some way you can relate that with this ignition energy. We'll talk in more detail about ignition, but let us say that we have a Ti. Okay. Now what is the heat, total heat required is m dot is the flow rate, Cp, Ti minus T naught. What is the delta T? M dot Cp delta T. That is the heat being supplied to this fresh gases. Now what is the heat loss from here? For delta T is Tf minus Ti. For this temperature difference, there is some heat loss. That heat loss can be, if you look at the one-dimensional conduction equation, it will be let us say that this is conduction is lambda into delta Ka. How do you define Q? Q is minus Ka delta T by delta X. So this is Ka delta T by delta X. Delta X is the thickness, which is, let us say, the flame. This is defined as a flame thickness. So flame thickness is delta, and that is what is shown here.
Sir,
Yes.
so this formula of conduction was valid only for cases without heat generation. So
Very good point. So I am just talking about that's a very valid point. I am saying that take a narrow region, okay, where heat is not generated. Let us say the edge of that. Okay, basically we are trying to figure out how much heat is lost from here to here in that interface. Okay, okay.
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now you're clear?
Sir,
Yes, sir.
if there will be some heat generation, we can use term Q double dash to equate this equation.
We are not seeing. Okay, I will get to that. Let me finish the derivation. We'll talk about that.
Sir,
Okay.
one more question. How to measure delta?
How to measure? Okay.
Delta.
Yeah, that is what all these theories are about. So let me finish this. At the end, we'll have some. That is actually a little tricky question. How do you define delta? Is also, we'll see. There are different definitions available. We'll go through that. Just wait for a few slides to let me be over with this. Okay. So let us talk about Maillard and Le Chatelier. They said that propagation of heat back through layers of gas. This is the controlling mechanism for flame propagation. This is what is required. Okay. Now they postulated that there are two zones. Okay. They are taking a very simple theoretical model that there are two zones. One is hot, one is cold, and they are separated where the next layer ignites. This is where the flame is getting ignited. That is what they said. Okay, forget about the heat release and all that. There is a hot region, there is a cold region, and this is the point where it gets ignited. That's all. And then they define that there should be some ignition temperature. Okay, but how to find that? That they are not going into that detail. They are saying that let us say there is some ignition temperature. Okay, so that is what they talked about. But the major limitation of this model is that in actual flames, okay, there are also some radicals which will diffuse. Not only heat, but some chemical species are also involved. Okay. Particularly if you have lower atomic and molecular weight particles, which are very easy to diffuse. So this theory is having a limitation that this neglects this part. Okay, this is basically called a thermal theory. So what they are saying is that the higher the ambient temperature, the higher the final temperature. They are saying that if you preheat the fuel, you will have a higher temperature at the end and your reaction rate will also be fast. Okay. Oh, I have not covered. Okay, now if you talk about the diffusion theory, if you say, so this is, there are two approaches. One is the only about talks about thermal, one talks about diffusion of species. Okay, so that takes care of, that will also talk about the different radicals which are diffusing back. Now, Maillard and Le Chatelier basically give thermal analysis. They talk about thermal heat propagation. Okay, and this is a very simplified way to look at a very complex phenomena. Okay, now let us derive this. So they say that the heat conducted from zone 2. Okay, I am saying that whatever heat I am extracting from here, I don't care whether heat is being generated there or it is already at high temperature or what. Okay, so basically I am interested in the slope in a very small region. Okay, you understand the interface. At this interface, what is the slope between TF and TI? Okay, now you can imagine I am not going into the burning region. That is why I am not using that equation. Someone was asking the question, right?
Yes, sir. It's clear now.
Okay, so I'm just talking about the interface, that this is the delta T, this is the delta X. Now let us do heat balance. So heat supplied to the fresh gases to raise up them to Ti and not Cp delta T. Heat lost from this H is given by this. So if you equate both of them, now this lambda is, as I told, thermal conductivity and m dot is mass flow rate. Now if you equate this from this equation, can you calculate, if you know, let us say you know m dot, you know Cp, you know temperature values, and you know lambda, can you calculate this flame thickness delta from this equation? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us see what sort of calculations we can do. So first we can start with the continuity equation. We'll say that m dot is rho UA. Now one side is U, one side is SL, because SL is same as U. Now I substitute that here. Instead of m dot, I can write rho SL Cp into delta T, and this side remains the same. A basically gets cancelled. A will be there in this term and A is here also, so that gets cancelled. Okay. Now from this I can say, I can define SL in terms of temperature and flame thickness. Okay, so this is the equation which was derived. This is of some historical importance because this is one of the simplest and earliest theory. Someone has proposed a theory to explain how premixed flames are governed or how they are sustained. So this was obtained by Maillard and Le Chatelier. And here again, I don't know how to find this delta, but if I know SL, then I can find delta using this, or if I know delta, I can find SL, whatever is known. Now let us say I want to find SL. So I need to know all these parameters here. So I need some detailed model to find what is the value of delta, sorry. So if we say that rho SL is omega dot, what is omega? It is reaction rate. Okay, and delta. So if I equate like this, you people understand what I'm doing here? I am saying this is the rate of fuel being supplied, mass flux of fuel, right? This is rho u, which is equal to rho SL. Okay. Now, can I say that whatever mass is getting supplied, that all mass is getting burned? There is no unburned gas passing through this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, how much gas this flame is burning? How much fuel that flame is burning per unit time? That can be known if I know what is the thickness of this reaction zone and what is the rate of reaction. Rate of reaction, let us say, is the omega dot, and then thickness is delta. So this is the rate of reaction per unit volume per unit time. Multiplied by flame thickness will give you the rate of consumption of fuel, m dot by A. So from this I can say delta is equal to rho SL by omega dot. Now in the last slide, what do we have? Or look at this. Here we have SL in terms of delta. Now if I write delta, if I substitute delta from here, this is what I can write. Are you people
Yes, sir.
getting this?
Yes, sir.
So I have SL here and SL here. So if I take it that side, what I can do, I can take a square root of this whole quantity. Okay. So this is how I can find SL in terms of omega dot and omega dot rho Cp and lambda, and of course the temperature values. Now lambda by rho Cp is, you can write it as alpha. This is thermal diffusivity. So I can say SL is alpha times temperature difference ratio and omega dot by rho to raise to the power 1/2. So this is one important result for SL. If you know the fuel properties and if you know the temperature, you can find SL. Okay. Now, yes, any question is there? Okay. Now I know that this is how I'm expressing SL. So if I take this as a factor, I can say that SL is proportional to the other quantities, root of this alpha omega dot by rho. Okay. So this expression tells you that how SL is dependent on various physical parameters, physical and chemical parameters, right? Okay. Now again, if I talk about mass flux m dot A and I write in terms of rho u and rho SL, from this I can say that omega dot is, if you take this omega dot can be rho SL by delta. Now SL, I know SL can be expressed in this form, root of this. So SL divided by root SL is proportional to alpha by,
Sir,
yes.
sir, what does this represent? Is it order of analysis? Sorry,
No,
order of magnitude.
we are trying to find how to calculate SL or flame thickness in terms of given parameters, given fuel properties. That's all.
Okay.
This symbol are you asking about?
Yes, sir. Order of
All right.
magnitude analysis, I guess.
This is basically roughly we say that let us take this as a constant. So this is proportional to SL will be proportional to
Okay.
it like this.
Okay.
Not actually order, but it is proportional constant should be there. Okay, SL is, you can roughly say out the order also, but basically it means that you're removing some constants and saying you're trying to figure out which parameters are accounting for change in SL or delta, sorry. Delta is here. So SL is proportional to alpha by delta and delta is proportional to alpha by SL. So by this analysis, we obtained the relation for laminar flame speed and we obtained relation for flame thickness. Okay, so we are running out of time. This will maybe start tomorrow. I will stop for now. I'll stop here. Any questions up to here? One or two quick questions, and then we need to stop. Okay, any questions up to this point?